Hi, this is Jennifer from blazingwonders.com, and in this second video in our wall prep series, we are going to talk about blind attachments. So this was a rather tedious approach that we use to ensure that we had a really nice finish edge around our windows and our flares. This allows you to attach these trim rings to the back side of these wall panels. And so in this video, Ryan's going to show you the different fasteners that he used to be able to do this, and how he made this work using a drill and a drill press and the final product. So one thing to also note in this video, we went ahead and recut this particular wall panel into one solid piece so that you don't have this seam line, and we carried that through in a number of panels. So you'll see us start with the small version, and then eventually what you'll see is us fitting this larger solid piece as we work on the blind attachments for this.
And today I'm going to show you a method for attaching your window trim rings to your wall system using a blind attachment method. So what I'm using for this are these 8/32 T-nuts. This is what the T-nut looks like, combined with 1/2" 8/32 machine screws and number 6 washers. Okay, and so what this looks like installed is you can see the T-nut, and on the other side I have the machine screw with the washer, and that gives you a really nice secure way of being able to attach a trim ring to your wall. And I say it's blind because when you put your Landau foam and then you put your fabric on top of that, you will not see that attachment underneath. So if you're looking for ways for either your C.R. Lawrence window, in this case, for a trim ring around it, or in the case of our flare space flares and trim ring that you see there, it's a way that you can get a blind attachment that's very secure without having your screws show outside of the fabric on your van. You still have some on the seams, but at least on the trim ring you can do that blind. Walking through this AVC wall kit system, this is the driver front window. It's set up to exactly match the windows from C.R. Lawrence and the factory cutouts. This actually is a really nice system from that standpoint. Everything is CNC cut, so really nice radiuses and cuts. What you're seeing is some foam that they've cut to serve as the windowsill. This will get wrapped with fabric and foam to give it a nice finish. But what I've done is taped this wooden trim ring that will get glued to the side of the foam. And this is how we're going to attach this. What I found, there was a couple of small imperfections here. So if I put this up against the radius of the wall panel, there's just a little bit of overlap here, and shockingly, a little bit of a gap here. Okay, and so when I was trying to put these rings on the window, it wouldn't fit without that gap. And I thought at first maybe there was just some imperfections with the window bezel ring for the C.R. Lawrence window, but it's actually in the wood cut itself. Interestingly enough, that you don't have that in the foam, so I think this was an error in cutting on the wood trim ring. This will attach basically underneath here. Okay, so I'll drill a hole through this, and then this gets hammered in, and then I'll drill a hole through the foam and through this trim ring, and then that'll allow me to pull these two surfaces together using this T-nut and a screw. Now where this is complicated though is, one, you need to position these things exactly, so the holes match up. Two, you need to be able to pull this ring up against here, and So the hole through the foam needs to be slightly bigger than the hole that you have for the screw, so that you can get a washer and be able to pull this again up against this. So the way I'm going to do this, and we'll see how successful I am, is I'm going to use a drill bit to go through the foam, and I'm going to do that only on this ring to begin with. So I'm going to use a smaller drill bit for the screw size to go through. The bigger one just through the foam, so the smaller one will go through both the foam and through the wood and through the wood, all the way through. And that'll allow me to have a precisely located hole through the trim ring and through the wall. The wall is where I'll attach the T-nut. And then by coming back through with the larger set, then I can drop the washer into the foam. I'll have this all double-sided taped to begin with. Then I'm going to glue my other foam ring, flip it around, and drill the hole from this side through here so that I have a hole going all the way through the foam. I'm going to do 10 attachment points all the way around the ring. And today I am doing the slider CR Lawrence window cutout with the foam trim ring, and I've attached this using two-sided tape to the board. And then next I'm going to glue the foam onto this wooden trim ring board and make sure I have exactly the right dimensions to match the inside. And you'll see here that there's a little bit of a gap here and a little bit of a gap over there. This is a picture now with the foam trim ring glued to the wooden foam trim ring portion. It's still attached to the wall using double-sided tape. And now I'm going to mark off a series of locations to drill using a drill press to get exact location for then applying my blind fasteners to the other side of the board. So I have now attached the foam trim ring to the wooden trim ring, and then I've drilled holes. You can see here, all this is all attached using double-sided tape. I've drilled holes through the foam and the wood, and very carefully. You don't, with the foam, you can just barely go through it to go down to the wood. I didn't want to drill into the wood trim ring, but I wanted to create enough space so that this screw can go down. All right, so now I'm on the last phase of preparing for the blind attachment. This is a Forstner bit. And what this does, I'm using a drill press so that I get accurate holes, is it creates a flat bottom hole. These T-nuts, and then can go down into this hole. And you have to hammer this down. So you hammer that down, and then it's actually below the surface of the wood. A couple things to note. One, the hole has to be deep enough that when you hammer this down, that is not an issue. The shank for this one's actually just a little bit more than a 1/4 inch. So what I have to do then is counter drill the front side so that this will reseat into the trim ring board and doesn't push out. And then the other issue is, and one of the things I discovered in the other one is, I put just a little bit of oil on this. The reason why I do that is this thing has a tendency to move whenever you attach the trim ring. And what I don't want to do is draw in the foam and the fabric. So I don't know if that's a pro tip. I'm not sure if this is the right way to do it. I'm not a woodworker by trade by any shape, form, or fashion. What I found is you put just a little bit of oil on this being careful not to get around here because you don't want to cause any delamination around here, then the foam does not adhere. So when you pull this in with the screw from the back side, then you don't get an issue with pulling in your fabric. So one thing to point out is when you put your initial hole placement, you want to make sure that you're far enough away from the edge of the board that you don't create issues when you go to fabric. And so I didn't have a lot of space to work with. This is about as close as I'm comfortable with. So just make sure that you're aware of that, is depending upon the size of the hole that you're drilling with a Forstner bit, that you need to be far enough away from the edge. All right, so here is the finished side with the T-nuts all installed. And we are ready for upholstery.
So as I promised, here's a closer view of our trim ring around the CRL Lawrence window. And as I said, we used the blind attachment approach for this window, as well as the window in the sliding glass door. And again, I wanted to show you that we also use this approach for the trim rings for our flares here in the back. And by using the blind attachment method, the attachments are behind the wall panel, attaching this trim ring provided with the flares to the back of the wall board. So that's it for our video on blind attachments. Hopefully you found this helpful, and be sure to check out our other videos and like and subscribe.